Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to
MidDay Café.
MidDay Café, where we have our cup of caffeinated goodness. So I want to welcome everybody. I'm excited. I've been doing midday cafes on and off for a while, but I now have a co-host that gets me pumped. And Tyrelle, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Mike. Yes, I'm Tyrelle Barnes, and I am a global black belt at Microsoft. I know it is the coolest job title, I have to say. But basically, the global black belts at Microsoft, we sit on a team kind of in between our account teams and our product and engineering teams.
Yeah.
And we're aligned with our newest solutions. So we're kind of keeping that feedback loop tight between customers and what they're looking for and our product and engineering teams.
Awesome. And how long have you been working as black belt?
5.5 years now.
5.5 years.
Yeah.
Now I got to know, do you have a key?
I do not. I think we know you're the real black belt, Mike. So how about you, Mike G?
Yeah.
Mike Gannotti.
So
Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike. No, Dr. G. Yeah. So I've been around with Microsoft 22 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm old. I had somebody pinging me internally. They were with a bunch of MVPs and they're like, is Mike Gannotti retired? I'm like, no.
Not yet. Come on.
But yeah, I've been around 22 years, focusing really on the broad kind of end user enablement, I call it, right? Starting with SharePoint way back, and these days Viva, Copilot. Yeah, and it's been great ride. Get to work with great people.
Thank you. Likewise, you have been such a great resource that, and I have so much fun presenting with you.
Yeah,
and I think our customers enjoy it too.
Yes, and I think that's why we wanted to do this.
Yeah.
So been around a while, and I'm excited for this. And we've got this new format we're going to be doing. Do you want to kind of run through it?
Oh, sure. So we're going to talk about Microsoft Copilot, kind of top of mind for everybody, we hope. And then we're going to talk about some of the kind of winners and bloopers that we've seen in the past week. So like great success stories and use cases, and maybe some things that aren't so good that we can learn from. And then we're going to get into a little bit about this week's topic, which is really going to be about the Microsoft Graph. Yeah. Everything's built on the Microsoft Graph. And I think we throw out Microsoft Graph here and there. And I just want to really kind of dive into what exactly is a Microsoft Graph.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I do have to say this. I throw it out there all the time. And then you have people I can see on the camera going, what? Because we don't explain it.
I know, we don't. And once you get it, though, I think it's a really cool concept, and it makes a lot of sense of how we're able to leverage AI and, get these personalized and curated experiences.
Awesome.
And then Mike G is a sensei and actually has 3 black belts.
No, 2.
2? I thought you had 3.
No, 2.
Well, that's all right. That's still 2 more than I have. And so we're going to hear a little bit about the universal man inspiration.
Oh.
And then I'm going to share some training tips. I'm also an endurance athlete and avid cyclist. And so I'm just going to share some of the things I've thought about this week.
I like that. You know what would be cool too? Because and this is what I love about what we do. So much of it can get tied, has analogies in, like you're going to talk about.
Oh, yeah, endurance training.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I come up with so many solutions or ideas when I'm riding or when I'm training and also lessons learned. So yeah, I'd love to share some of those.
Awesome. All right. So real quick, I guess we'll start off with the weekly recap. Anything that really struck you this week was hitting you?
Yeah, I kind of heard a story from a customer, and I felt like it wasn't the best way to measure success of like a new platform. Yeah. And it was they adopted a new learning platform a few years ago, and their success criteria was just measuring number of users. And the problem with that is it was their compliance training. So like people had to go there. And I feel like that's a real opportunity. And one of the things about Viva Learning that's so powerful is, we're customer zero for our solutions here at Microsoft, especially our employee experience solutions.
Yep.
And after we implemented Viva Learning, there was a 50% increase in voluntary courses taken by employees at Microsoft. And that was a huge win for the learning team, because that's what every organization is really trying to do, is drive voluntary learning. They want people to take, new courses and upskill in ways that are meaningful to them and that are going to help them progress in their career journey.
So when you think about that, like they were just measuring users, not number of active and different things like that, which would be 100% because they're compliance.
Right.
But then are they able to even gauge like voluntary learning and things of that nature?
I'm not sure that they're even able to measure that. So now we're going to kind of have to go back and backtrack and see, hey, what are better, ROIs?
Yeah.
And kind of reset after the fact, after the investment's been made.
Right.
Now we're going to try to show the ROI, and that's obviously not ideal.
Right, right. And you mentioned how Microsoft, we're seeing a lot more with the voluntary. What are some of those things that attribute to that?
I think really learning in the flow of work, Mike, in teams. Like I can take my courses in teams. It's like a Netflix type experience. It's in the flow of work on my phone. Yeah, that's awesome. Like you're sitting somewhere waiting in the waiting room, and you can like finish your training. And then also we leverage AI across the graph. So it's going to nudge me, hey, this is a course that, people with similar backgrounds are interested in. You might want to take it or consider that. And then I'm also able to list out skills that I have, or features or things that I'd like to consume, and then get courses that show up that would meet those criteria. And so I think all of that kind of experience.
I like the one thing, and I won't use the name of the streaming service, but kind of a streaming service like experience where, like you said, it's looking at you with all that graph that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So it understands you and what you're really doing. And then also, as you subscribe to, hey, I'm interested in this, I have these skills, it can really combine those to present you with stuff that's meaningful to you, and it'll catch your interest.
Yeah.
Just like the streaming service.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you might be interested in this based on your past history. Yeah. Love that.
That's awesome. Well, my weekly recap was all things Copilot.
Really?
That's
awesome.
So Copilot, for those who are not familiar, Copilot, you go out and look, type in, Bing it, Microsoft Copilot. And Copilot is that AI assistant for, we've been showing it. Customers, they're like, I've never seen the interest and demand to be on a preview. I was talking with my manager, Eden, yesterday, and she's like, it's crazy because they're dishing out real money to preview something that's not even released yet. And they can't, we don't have the slots for everybody that wants to.
That's
because
exciting.
She said she had one company say, we have to, because this is a differentiator that will affect, this is our bottom line, period. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of presentations with that, and it's been, everybody wants in. I even had an executive, a chief executive the other day, try to say, well, Mike, if we can't get in on this, we're looking at competition and things of that nature, right? To do it. And it was specifically, though, around Copilot integration into Outlook, Word, in the daily flow of work, having an AI assistant right there. And I started laughing. I said, come on, you are not, because nobody else can do that. They're looking at your graph data and in your graph app, in your 365 apps. And he started laughing. He goes, okay, but I want in on that preview.
I love that.
So yeah, it's been that's been
I've
a
been
wild
using
ride.
it. I love it.
Love it.
I joined a meeting late recently. I had a conflict and I was able to recap everything that had happened in the meeting with Copilot and catch
Yep.
up and be right there. And so I love our technology.
It is
It's very
amazing.
cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. When I show people how I'm using it on a daily basis, they're like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, this ain't even released yet. It's still early.
Yeah.
And it's kind of mind blowing. So winners. Oh, we talked about winners and bloopers. We already kind of commingled the two. That's all right.
Yeah.
That's good.
So you want to talk about the graph?
Let's talk about that. So you are much better versed and more articulate by far than me in describing the graph. So
like one thing.
So Tyrelle, no. Tyrelle, what is the graph?
The graph. Well, and the reason I love the graph and describing it is because I started my career as a statistician. I went to graduate school at NC State, great school.
Go Wolfpack.
And so think of the graph like I'm just gonna like share an analogy. Okay, so think about an asset like a wind turbine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have sensors on that asset and you're measuring things that are happening, the vibration, the temperature in its environment, right? So if you have a wind turbine in like Iowa and you have a wind turbine in the Gulf of Mexico, they're going to be in different environments. So they're going to have different data coming off of them. Well, that data coming off those sensors, we timestamp that. And then we create this kind of time series data set. And it's almost like a graph, like a historian of what's going on with these assets. And then we can look at over time, like how do we optimize them? When's the best time to take them down for maintenance and such, right? Well, think about people as the asset. Okay.
I'm a windmill.
Yes, you're a windmill, but you're using Outlook and you're chatting in Teams and you're having meetings and all of those things produce a signal and we can timestamp that signal and then we can create that data set, that time series data set. And that's the Microsoft graph. So it's this massive data historian of everything that's going on in Microsoft tools. And so the cool thing is it's private. So we are able to de-identify and aggregate that data so that we can see trends, we can see what's going on with people and their behaviors.
But not
like Mike, right? Like I don't know exactly what Mike's doing, but I can see at a level, like a higher level, what Mike's team is doing, or what people at a different location are doing as far as like time they're spending in meetings. What's their work week span? What's their work day span? What after hours work are they doing? So all of these really important signals around people's behavior at work. So it's the largest data set that's ever been created about how people are behaving at work.
That's huge.
It is huge because when we leverage AI across that, we're able to really learn some fascinating things around how people are working, what's not working, what is working, especially when we marry it up with other contextual data. So like, for example, engagement survey data, right?
Oh, so you get subjective with objective data.
Like sentiment, how people are feeling, and you pair that with how people are working. Wow, that's powerful. Because then I can say, oh, for these people who are feeling overwhelmed and burnt out, how many meetings are they in? What's their after hour work look? How much time are they spending with their manager on one-on-ones? How much coaching are they getting? What kind of courses are they taking, or what kind of learning could we give them, or how can we make a change that's going to help improve their work-life balance?
So that brings to mind then, so are we doing things with that data that allows you to do some predictive analysis?
Absolutely. Yeah. We can predict attrition up to like 52 weeks in advance.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
It's very powerful, especially when you don't want to lose some of your talent. And if you start to see this disengagement, if you get ahead of that, I mean, that's millions and millions of dollars and, on the bottom line.
I was, again, my manager. I love talking to my manager.
That's awesome.
Do you know Eden?
I do.
Eden she's just awesome. She's so nice, very. But we were talking yesterday again, and she had done an MTC with a customer. It was a world-renowned
Microsoft Technology
healthcare.
Center.
Yes,
That's what MTC
thank you.
is. Yes.
We're acronym happy
We
here.
love that.
We love our little 3-letter acronyms all over. But at the Microsoft Technology Center, they were hosting their world-renowned healthcare provider, right? So hospital chain or hospital that's very well known. And she was talking about that prediction piece.
Yeah.
And they were showing it, though, built in with context of clinicians and particular nurses.
Wow.
And they were like, that's huge for us.
It's just that they've been really impacted.
Yeah.
Especially with COVID and lots of burnout and lots of attrition. And it's a big problem there. Well, that's cool that we're like looking at that clinician population.
And it's been an area that we're finally getting around to a little more of that. Yeah. So, we talk about, I was just looking, we have our whiteboard with ideas and stuff, but, some of the data you were talking about, what we're doing with it. So haven't we done some things where we're looking even broader at data as Microsoft and around what we call the trends?
Yep. Yeah. Work trends report. We publish that twice a year. And we actually, our website, it's Work Lab. We created we took an approach of like a test and learn approach and look at this as an opportunity. And there's all kinds of cool stuff, but you can find the work trends report on our Work Lab site.
So what have they found?
Oh, just like we can look globally at trends across industries, because when you aggregate all that data up, you can see things like over time, like people are working much more. And so
But I thought if you work at home, you'd be.
Yeah.
But that's not the case.
That's not the case. The data shows that people are working more than ever. In fact, there are 3 peaks a day now. There used to be 2 peaks, like a peak in the morning and then a peak after lunch. There's a peak in the evening. And sometimes that's good because that's giving people flexibility. Like say they want to spend time with their kids after school or sports and such, and then they go and do, work later. And sometimes that's just they don't have enough time during the day because too many meetings to do their work. So that's the only time they can do it. So just being able to see that signal and kind of dive into it and see what's going on.
That's interesting. And I think it's interesting because, we're going to talk about Viva in a bit, but one of the things that yesterday I did talk Viva here and there during the week.
You better.
And one of the customers, when we were looking at the insights piece, when I showed them how they could set quiet time, not focus during work, but quiet after work, that caught their interest because, to your point, the issue may not be that, hey, I took time to do this and now I'm going to do this, but we get caught in rack and stack. And then I'm doing then I'm doing work and peaking, right? We're getting those signals, which that means that's a train coming to a burnout wreck, right?
Right.
And and so when I showed them that was exactly what came up, that we're in meetings all day, and then I got to catch up at night.
Yeah. Well, that's been one of my favorite features. And so I'll just describe part of our Viva platform. It's our employee experience platform.
Built on
the Microsoft Graph.
Yes.
And about 2.5 years ago, we GA'd the Microsoft Viva platform. And it's a new category, general availability. Thank you, Mike. So we actually created a new category called EXP, so employee experience.
Yeah.
And it's an ecosystem and a platform approach, and it can be consumed in teams, across the stack, and we are customer zero. So we get to, we used to call it dog food, now it's elite, but we are the kind of guinea pigs. We're testing all of this on ourselves and then learning from that and then iterating. And then once we get it down to a certain level, then we productize it and share it with customers. And so one of my favorite things about Viva Insights, which is like a fitness tracker for work, right? Is focus time. It schedules focus time for me on my calendar ahead before it gets, locked up with collaboration. And that saved me. It's changed my work life. I love it.
Yeah, I was going to say that's for me. That absolutely is one of my. I'll say two. Well, and actually, that is my favorite because that whole proactive grabbing of time. Because you and I are both in the same boat where we're getting.
We could be spending every moment in meetings presenting if
and
we're not
we even
careful.
get double booked.
Yeah.
And stuff, but they can't do it when you have focus time.
Well, they can, but
well, they can, but it gets put. Yeah, we're not showing up
unless you ask me in advance.
And even if you come out and ping me, I'm not going to get a toast pop up or a ring, because it quiets all the noise.
It's like do not disturb.
Yeah, and I love it because then it gives me the ability to take ownership, and I can say, you know what, I don't need that block this week.
Yeah,
and I can remove it, and then people can fill it in. But instead of the default being me scrambling to find time, it's ensuring I get the time I need to do all those non-meeting, because meetings isn't work.
Right.
I mean, meetings is part of work, but that's not my
it creates more work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love my manager too, Kara. She's awesome, and she's very supportive of us blocking our calendars and you know for the time we need. In fact, that's a cool thing about Viva Learning. It'll block learning time. Do you want to schedule to take this course? And if it's 30 minutes long, you could go ahead and schedule it, and it has the course and a link, and it's on your calendar.
Yep.
It's awesome.
The customer who I was showing some of the stuff that I mentioned with Insights, showing them in Learning, when I showed them that, they're like, wait a minute, you mean it'll be on my Outlook and it blocks it? I was like, yeah, our LMS doesn't do that. I know. And it's something we take for granted because it sounds so simple.
Yeah.
But instead of having to go from that to another app, and it's just
saves you steps.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just clarify, Viva Learning is not an LMS. We're like an LXP, a learning experience platform, and we aggregate. We sit on top of LMSs, and we also have the ability to use learning APIs and pull in any third party or create custom content in SharePoint and make that a learning object. So lots of flexibility.
It's like that one-stop shop for all things for learning, which I love.
Yeah.
So we kind of hinted at Viva. Do you want to kind of talk a little bit more about? I mean, you started off talking about the experience platform.
Right.
What are we covering, and what are we really looking to address today with that platform?
And that's a great question. What we're doing is we're putting the employee at the center, and we're creating this more of a digital hub type experience where no matter where the employee is working, they could be at home, they could be in the office, they could be traveling. They're able to, access all of these different things they need, like communications.
Yep.
There's a home site, and it's like your home page, your landing page, and it's curated and personalized for you because it's leveraging AI across the graph. So it knows what your role is. It knows where you're located. And so you're going to see content that's, just specific to you.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be able to access your learning, your insights around, just like those nudges and such that we talked about, like my fitness tracker for work. Then also your like OKRs.
Oh,
so
which OKRs are around?
Objectives and key results. Yeah. So that's a big thing now, and we have a solution for that called Viva Goals.
Yep.
So I know the work I'm doing each day, how that ladders up to the overall mission of our organization. Right. So that helps me stay engaged and empowered.
And focused on what you should be doing, right?
Yeah. Prioritized and focused for me. So all of those different, skilling and growth and the analytics and insights and the communications piece and the goals and OKRs and objectives that we're working on, all kind of bringing all of those to me in teams where I'm working, and kind of making it front and center. So I don't have to go looking for anything. I can just find it right there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I mean, the idea, that it's all in teams. single pane of glass. I don't have to go again, that same customer yesterday, not having to open app and app and app.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
One stop.
Avanade did a study and they said on average, an employee has 64 different places they have to go to get all the resources they need. Yeah.
That is,
yeah. Who has time for that?
No, it leads to burnout, frustration, and it's like, yeah. It leads to a slow computer because a lot of people just keep all that stuff
open, right?
And then they're tabbing
and then you're like,
around
where was that? Yeah.
Yeah. So Viva has, I mean, that's been a whole new thing that we've been doing. But now we're branching. We've talked a little bit about it, and we're lighting up new things in Viva as well as other areas. And that is this whole leveraging that graph again with Copilot.
Yes. So Copilot just brings another layer. That's our Chat GPT, bringing Chat GPT into all of our Office products, right? So that I heard a really cool use case for learning, actually. So think about, I'm interested in learning more about machine learning. So say I want to go from like 0 to expert in machine learning. I can say, hey, Copilot, can design a learning path for me with the courses I need to take. So I can do this in 10 weeks or, what have you. And boom, it builds it right there. Customized based on, courses I have access to, the timeline I put in. And then think about learning admins being able to do that instead of manually having to create all these learning paths for different groups of employees.
Just ask it.
Yeah, ask it, and it does it.
And then if you need to edit, fine, but get the bulk of the work. Right.
First pass.
Wow. Yeah.
Huge savings.
That is big. I was thinking about too, like even just, how often do we struggle to get an answer to a question, but we don't really know how to phrase the question? You know what I mean? To get the right response and I saw, some of the things they're talking about doing with Copilot and Viva, being able to have prompts and things around that. But Viva, Copilot, it's bigger than just Viva, right? So what are other,
there's Copilots for everything.
For everything.
You know more about the other Copilots than me.
Well,
tell me some of the good, cool Copilots.
Yeah. So the one thing I did want to stress right off, I notice I'm like leaning back off camera. So with Copilot, one of the things that I get asked, there's two things right off the bat that companies have been asking and they get nervous about. Is it going to take over stuff? That's number one. And the other is, well, if it's Chat GPT, you're putting my data out there in public.
Oh, no, we're not.
Right. I wanted to hit that. So the first one is it meant to replace? So there's two different AI scenarios that Microsoft has been working towards. One is an autopilot sort of piece with Azure AI, where you're dealing with automation, automated processes, and leveraging AI to help handle a lot of that because it can do it quicker, more efficient, etc. But then Copilot is exactly what it says. It's an assistant. It is user directed. It's user initiated in the flow of work. Pretty much every app that we've got out there for 365 at some point, like right now, I'm using it in Word and PowerPoint. I use it in Outlook for email generations.
That's huge. Being able to prioritize my email based on emails from my manager and customers, and then draft a response.
And that's a whole thing too, right? Analyzing. So large document. I don't know how many of you get this. I get this all the time, where somebody will send me something and they're like, well, have you looked at this and the following? And it's this huge document with a ton of content. I don't have time to read it, but I don't have to now.
I know. Oh, you can summarize it.
I ask it to summarize.
That's so
I actually did it. I grabbed an internal doc that I was interested in, and I just wanted the salient points, but it was, I forget how many pages, but it was projected plans and things all around Copilot and Autopilot. And it had like all kinds of in-depth documentation. I was like, can you synthesize this down to 5 bullet points for me? And it did.
Yes, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, I'm not a fan of long emails. Sorry.
No. I learned that early in my technical career to be brief, brevity.
And also we're working cross generations, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are generations who only read the subject line.
Yeah.
Or, hey, you know, it's really interesting. I've noticed our culture change since, well, I've only been here 5.5 years, but from being very email centric and like people, you know, you're gonna respond to the email.
Yeah.
And to being like, if it's really urgent or important, you get a Teams chat, right?
You know,
I love that.
It's funny you say that, and because like going back when Teams was just starting,
which wasn't that long ago. It's
no,
like 6 years, right?
Yeah. And I remember when it first came out, I was still at the Microsoft Technology Center as an architect
in Malvern, right?
In Malvern, in PA, Pennsylvania, and I was like, this is so awesome because email had gotten out of control. I get 400 to 500 emails a day.
And that's just work email. We have personal email
I can't keep up.
I know.
And I gave up. And my manager at the time was an ex-Exchange product team member. And I'll never forget, he came in one time and I was talking about using Teams and how I use it. And if you want to talk, if you really want me, you message me in Teams.
Right.
And I said, because I can't keep up with email. I'm in sessions all day. And I said, as of right now, and I pulled it up, I had over 40,000 unread email messages. At which point his eyes went.
That reminds me. Okay, so someone asked me not that long ago, like they were very proud of their zero inbox. And they asked me like how many emails. I was like, I am not telling you. I have, don't we have like almost unlimited email here?
Yes, especially with archival.
I use that feature.
Yeah, I have 30-day archival.
We have excellent search.
I
mean, why not?
I'm just going to do this for the heck of it.
What?
I'm going to pull up my email. Let's see how many unread. Right now, I'm doing pretty good.
Okay.
There we go. No. So unread, I have 14,920. Oh, it's going up. No, I have a lot more than that.
You're making me feel so much better.
So there we are.
Yeah. There we are. Hey.
Yes.
I just realized that you discovered a new org explorer.
Oh, I wanted to talk about that. Yeah. So this is so we have 2 segments, and thank you for all staying with us right now because we're trying to get the hang of how we're going to do this. So we are going to have transitions. We're going to get fancy, but right now we're starting.
Okay.
So this is my Sensei Says.
Okay.
And for those who don't know, I used to teach martial arts, and I used to dress up for Microsoft in a hakama with my katana.
I've seen those. They're still on YouTube.
They are. They're still ones out there.
So Mike is a real black belt. I'm just a black belt that's the name of my job title.
I'm a belt. I had my first sensei. I'll never forget. It was for Shorin Ryu. He was from Okinawa. And my dad had to beg him to take me. I was a little kid, and what grade was I? 2nd grade, and he did not teach children.
Oh.
This is before all the commercial
dojos
and all. He didn't take little kids, and we lived in an area that, while we were looking for a house, they were looking to build. We moved from California to Connecticut, in what used to be Little Italy in this one city, and it had since become very run down. My grandpa was one of the few people still there, and I used to get beat up daily.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was by older kids like junior high. I was in 2nd grade, and I had junior high kids.
Oh my God, I'm so glad I'm
like I had a kid one time take a board from this one lot, and the kid was a junior high student, and I kid you not, go right smack at me in my face, blood. But at any rate, my dad was like, "Look, not going to beat these kids up, blah, blah, blah. So at any rate, he found this place, and he finally, the instructor said, okay, if you agree to come with him, then he can be in the classes. And my dad had to take her with me. So what am I, the point is, I don't even know what the point is. I got way off. I've been doing it forever, but
since second grade.
Since second grade.
When did you stop getting beat up? Like, when did you start
I beat up my first kid in second grade.
Oh my gosh, that was a quick learning curve. Well, good for you. It sounds like it was a rough second grade.
I had a rough
experience.
second going into third grade, and then but it was a classmate. It was a kid my own age who was the bully.
Yeah.
And it was inner city, and I'll never forget. Construction workers were watching us fight. My mom had to come in. Luckily, by that point, I'd learned how to do a few things. I
love that story.
Yeah, it was fun. I learned to be a tough little guy. But so I was a sensei. So we thought we'd do a sensei says. So sensei says, org explorer. So getting back to something that people care about. Viva, we've been talking about Viva people. Mm-hmm. People in Viva. So you have to have the Viva suite, right? Mm-hmm. For this. Yes. And I've been waiting for people in Viva for a while, And yesterday I'm in a meeting, and Chris Wendling, one of our
Monowork specialists.
Yes. Yeah. And he says, well, and then for people, the Org Explorer and Outlook, I said, what are you talking about? I didn't even know that. I had never noticed the little icon. I went, oh. So if you have to have, it's in the 32-bit application right now, it lights up, right?
It's also in Teams now.
So you told me this morning. I came in, I was like, I never knew. In Outlook, ooh, I thought I had found this gold. And then she looks at me, she goes, it's also in Teams now. So it's went GA, general availability, at least I know for Outlook, there's a whole post.
I'm on dog food and Teams too.
Okay, so you might be getting. So I'll have to look.
You've got to be on an earlier build.
I'll try. No, actually, I used to be. So I used to.
They kick you out.
They culled. There was somebody internal. So one of the balancing acts is they love to let us all have lots of folks. And I got access to Teams before we announced Teams. Literally an internal meeting at an offsite for healthcare. When healthcare first started, the very first offsite in Vegas, I got this invite where they rigorously checked people at the door, no cameras, your phone's off, no computers on, talking about this thing that was going to come out called Teams. And I'll never forget that. And so as a part of that, I got on this thing that the developers were on, the early engineers and stuff. So I'd get like 2 updates a day.
That's cool.
And I had like all kinds of crazy stuff showing up, like, wow.
And then it would disappear too sometimes.
And then it would disappear. Yeah. I'd be like, well, and I'd have to be careful what I showed and didn't.
Right.
Somebody internally who had access to that as well evidently showed something. So all of us non-product group members got
kicked out. It's a bummer.
Which, I understand.
Yeah.
So, but you're seeing it there. I'll put a link to I know the post on Org Explorer and Outlook. If you haven't looked, it's awesome. And it's like a first iteration, because some of the screenshots and things we've been showing customers in PowerPoint decks, a lot of it's not even lit up yet, different pieces, but it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming fast. That's something I love about Microsoft is it doesn't take us that long to catch up with the marketing.
Yeah.
Our architecture isn't that far ahead of our products.
And it's the cloud. So in the old days, I remember the old days where I'd go on premise and I'd install the latest SharePoint or, the service pack updates and stuff to get new features. But you'd wait for features like it was once a 3-year, and we had events. to commemorate the latest launch. It was Office 2017, Office, this.
We still have some of the swag if anyone wants some.
Old swag. So, but now with the cloud, it's this iterative, much nimbler cycle.
Love the cloud.
Yeah.
There are still disbelievers in the cloud.
There are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've talked to a few.
Try to stay open. We try to stay open, but it's kind of hard to deny the cloud.
We sell them, but like, bringing up to your earlier conversation, the graph.
Mm-hmm.
I have had, not recently, but, because of the nature of our clientele and what they're doing, we had a lot of ones that were still on premise for a long time because,
right. Just security.
Yeah. And it's not their priority. It's
right.
It's helping patients. Right.
Yeah.
So, but what was I about to say? Man, I'm getting old. I was about to say with, the graph and not the graph, with the cloud, they were asking about the graph, stuff that I would show. And they'd be like, oh, well, can't we do this? Well, you have to have the graph. Well, can't we install the graph on premise? And I'd have to explain to them, like you said, it's the largest data set like this.
It's being created constantly. Yeah.
And I said, you would need a data center just for that.
Right. Yeah.
And then it kind of comes home. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's what's like crazy about like generative AI. And I was listening to a really cool podcast it was an interview by Rex Friedman from MIT, MIT AI guy, interviewing CEO Sam Altman,
right?
OpenAI, which we've partnered with. Gave some love to Satya. It was awesome. Really brilliant podcast. I just really enjoyed that. But talking about how just where we're going, the amount of content in the world that's been created, it's unbelievable. And that's why just having that, AI be able to kind of cruise it and come back with something in seconds is absolutely amazing, because it's almost like there's a graph of the world, right? If you think about it, that's constantly being created. And it is terrifying, but it's also fascinating, and it's a really cool, neat place to be. And it's really neat to be in the world and be in tech right now.
Yes, it is. And I will say, going back to, like you're talking about the OpenAI, one of our first instantiations of that with leveraging Bing, our search engine, right in line with the Edge browser. So, I use that now, and I demo when I'm being asked to talk Copilot, I always show them that at the end, because it is flipping mind-blowing.
Our search is so awesome right now. I mean, it's gotten so powerful.
It writes I have customers saying, oh, hey, can you get us the resources around all the things that we need around this, blah, blah, blah. And in the past, that meant me doing search and then scrolling through and checking, no, not that. Yeah, I mean, and then having to write up some,
right.
It took hours sometimes.
That was all the follow-up work.
And it took so long. And now I go in and I just type, and I call it a blog entry, because that's like an article or a and I pick long, and I always say at the end, provide URL links to resources, and it spits out this.
I was wondering how you're so quick after we present. It's like 15 minutes later, and you've got this nice email with all these links that you send.
And there we go. Yeah,
and
it's like it's writing an email, and I can do it if I want it in email format.
Yeah,
I can even tell it email, and then I can even pick the voice.
Really?
Yes. So I'll just bring up one example. Okay. So on my phone, I have top and center. Ooh, come back here. Bing, the Bing app, which to be blunt, I had no use for a long time. We've had one.
Yeah.
I never used it.
Yeah.
I do now. So this is the Bing app. Oh, it's right. There's the thing. And right front and center, they have this capability when you tap that icon where you can ask it to do stuff. So my wife was recently up in Michigan with her sisters. They all went together. And it was for one of their brothers who had struggled with dependency for 40 years, 40 plus years. And he, after a series of misfortunes and things, he hit rock bottom and went into a program 3 years ago. And he has been sober free for over 3 years now.
That's
and he graduated from this program, real intensive ones. Big props to the folks out in Saginaw, Michigan.
Oh, that's so great.
The judge is actively involved with them, goes bowling outings with them and stuff.
Cool.
I mean, all kinds of stuff. But he got to I'm gonna get choked up. He gave a talk, but they wanted to say none of the three, and I know they're not going to watch this long, so I can say this. None of the three is very eloquent with words, and they were like they called me while they were driving up. Mike, we don't know what to. We want to say something to him and have something we can say to him.
Yeah, from the heart.
Yeah. So I put in there, and I put I forget what voice I picked. It was where. I put in here, and then I said, tell me, and I said the scenario, telling my brother that he's, how proud we are of him, how much we love him. And I listed out a couple of things. It spit out a speech that, I kid you not, I texted back to them, and they changed the first sentence. And that was it. They were like, this is beautiful.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And
but
it was
like
like
capture what they wanted to share.
Yeah, I asked them on the phone, what are the things you wanted to talk about? And they just threw out some ideas.
I haven't used the Bing app.
Yeah, use casual voice.
Casual voice.
Because it's meant to be personal.
Yeah.
And it did a phenomenal.
Oh, that's so cool.
It was also a little scary.
Yeah.
They were like, wow, this is what we would want to say. And again, you always change things, but yeah, I show that app all the time. The one right in Edge, the Edge browser.
It almost democratizes like speech writing and being able to share like a toast or something, because a lot of people use speech writers, and there's somebody creating these wonderful things they say. Right?
AI can do it.
And now, everybody can do that.
Everybody can do it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think we should wrap on this awesome note.
I think so.
Yeah.
So I want to thank everybody tuning in for our first. If you have comments or suggestions, we'd love to hear them.
We would. We're going to have special guests too.
Yes.
So if you're interested in being a guest, let us know. Reach out. And yeah, thank you so much. This has been really fun, and we look forward to next week.
Yeah, and it's going to be every Friday, so please, your comments, suggestions, questions. While I was sitting here, you know what I was thinking?
What?
We should have like a form that people can post questions to, submit questions to us, and we could have.
I think we have tech for that.
Question of the day. I think so. So with that, this is Mike.
This is Tyrelle.
Have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, happy Friday.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.